In preparation for Veilguard's release, I've spent the last few months and a couple hundred hours going into each of the previous Dragon Age games just because I've always wondered whether it was actually worth it to build my own Dragon Age timeline or whether some of these games and DLCs were okay to skip because we are only about a month and a half away from the latest installment, and I understand not everybody has 200 to 400 hours to put into the series. If that's you, then this one might be for you, as I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on which games and DLCs you should definitely play and which ones you're allowed to skip to save time while retaining maximum enjoyment when the latest game does get released. So without further ado, let's start with the first one in the series, Dragon Age Origins. Now, Origins is a legendary game, and in most cases I would say that this is a must play. However, I do want to be flexible in my recommendations, so we're going to be considering a few things. Number 1, the combat has aged like milk, which is going to be unappealing for a lot of new audiences coming into it who have only played Inquisition or maybe even just getting into the series through Veilguard and are only interested in that. That being said, the strength of this whole series is the story and its world, and Origins serves as the perfect introduction to the threat Thetis faces and to certain characters that are making a comeback in Dragon Age Veilguard. Estimated completion time for this game if you're planning to complete a full playthrough with all side quests done is between 70 to 100 hours. If you have the time, go for it, but if not, a more focused playthrough might be more feasible, which would only take about 30 to 50 hours instead. If you are going to be doing a more focused playthrough though, here are some storylines that I recommend doing. First is Morrigan's story. She plays a big role in most Dragon Age games, and she also appeared in the trailers of Veilguard, so we already know that she's making a comeback and is up to something big. She's also pretty important lore-wise, so definitely do not ignore Morrigan's storyline. The next one is Liliana, who returns in Dragon Age Inquisition, playing a major role as one of the Inquisitor's advisors, and depending on the role of the Inquisition characters in Veilguard, she also has a high likelihood of returning. Alistair's story is not as significant as the other two in terms of future games, but he is a key character in the world depending on the choices you make. As for quests, if you're really pressed for time and can't complete Origins, please at least do the intro up to Lothering so you'll know how devastating a blight can be, which is the main problem in the world of Thetis. And then do the Circle Mage and Redcliffe quest as well so you'll understand the significance of mages in the world of Dragon Age. Now for the DLCs. Most of these are skippable, but if you are planning on playing Dragon Age 2, the Awakening DLC, which is about 10 to 15 hours long, enhances your experience by a pretty good margin because of recurring characters. This is not a must play, so if you don't have the time, feel free to skip. This DLC is only worth it for the storyline of two companions that carries over to the next game. What is a must play though is if you romance Morrigan, do not skip Witch Hunt. It's pretty significant in the story of both her and your warden, and it's only about 40 minutes long. Let's move on to Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 is my least favorite in the series, and it's also the least significant in terms of story. The companions are pretty mid in my opinion, but Hawk, the main character in this game, is my favorite MC in all three games, so it might be worth it for you just for their story alone.
They say your life flashes in front of your eyes before you die.
This game is shorter, only taking about 60 hours to complete a full playthrough with all the side quests done, but the story is only relevant until Inquisition, so unless you want to build your Hawk story, this one I feel is okay to skip. Things of note here is Varric, who was introduced in this game and makes an appearance in both Dragon Age Inquisition and Veilguard. He's also one of the most beloved companions in the franchise, so seeing how his relationship with Hawk develop is one of the highlights of this game. There's also certain companions that have a decent chance of returning in Veilguard just based off of the available starting factions in that game, but honestly they're not as important to the world as compared to the ones I mentioned in Origins. The most important part of Dragon Age 2 is the Templar/Mages storyline, which is a major plot point in Dragon Age Inquisition because by then, you're dealing with a mage rebellion. And Dragon Age 2 is basically you witnessing how that came to be. And also, Hawk might return in Veilguard because if they're alive in your world, we know that they went to Weishaupt by the end of Inquisition, and Weishaupt is one of the major locations we'll be visiting in the next game. As for DLCs, you can skip Mark of the Assassin, which hasn't really come up in anything after this game, but you should play Legacy to fully enjoy Dragon Age Inquisition. It's basically the prequel to the main bad guy in the third game. In summary, I recommend playing it if you want to experience all 3 games, but if you again don't have the time, this one is skippable. You can just watch a story summary on YouTube or read about what unfolded in the wiki. Before moving forward, I'd like to first thank the sponsor of this video, Gamivo.com. Gamivo is an online platform for gamers where you can get your favorite games, including recently released ones like Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, or the whole Dragon Age series at the best prices. They've got a huge selection of games for all the major platforms, and not only that, but they've kindly prepared a 5% discount code for the viewers of the channel. That's right, if you head to the link down below in the pinned comment or the description of this video, it'll direct you straight to their website. Pick any game you want, and on the checkout page, make sure to type in code Kaganath to take advantage of the 5% off. In addition, if you want to have exclusive daily or monthly discounts and VIP access to a 24/7 live chat with their support team, go ahead and sign up for Gamivo Smart. It comes with everything I mentioned, plus pre-order priority and a free customer protection program. All of that for only $1.08 a month. They're also verified in Trustpilot, having amazing reviews, so you know that your purchases are protected. So if you want to get your favorite games at discounted prices and support this channel at the same time, head on over there with the link down below and make sure not to miss out on the 5% discount with code Kaganath. Let's get back to the video. Let's go to Inquisition. This game is a must-play. Not only will the Inquisition have a role in Veilguard, but multiple characters actually make a return. The most surprising one being Harding, who started off as a side character and will now be a core part of the companions group in Dragon Age Veilguard. It is the most modern of the 3, so it's the easiest to get into in terms of gameplay, but more importantly, Inquisition sets up Solus, which if you've watched the trailer, you know is going to be a massive part of Veilguard's storyline. A thing to keep in mind is that this game is very long, and the story is not necessarily the reason for that. You see, Inquisition was a victim of the open worldification of video games during the time of its release, which means that it has a lot of not very meaningful content to do, which bloats the game time. So while this is a must play, I recommend doing a more focused playthrough instead of trying to see and do everything it has to offer, because doing that can easily net you an extra 100 hours of not so fun playtime. Multiple characters from previous games make a return in Inquisition, and it's really fun to see the evolution of their characters throughout the years. If you played Origins and Dragon Age 2, you have to play Inquisition, as it's going to be even more worth it for you if you have a personal set timeline, and your choices from previous games affect who they are in the 3rd game. See this one through to the end so you can understand how and why certain things are happening in the story of Veilguard. If you skip this, a lot of things story-wise are not going to make sense to you. As for DLCs, this game has 3 major DLCs that are worth playing on their own. But in terms of relevance to the story, the only thing that really matters is the last one, Trespassers. Trespassers is set 2 years after the events of the main game and sets you on a direct path to the start of Dragon Age Veilguard. It also contains the true endings and serves to bridge the gap in Solus's character development between the base game Inquisition's ending and Veilguard. In summary, if you're going for maximum enjoyment of the whole series, ideally you should complete a playthrough of Origins, including the Awakening and Witch Hunt DLCs, which enhances your experience with Dragon Age 2 and Morrigan's storyline. Complete Dragon Age 2 as well to witness major events that trigger the Templar Mage Rebellion, and then do the Legacy DLC to enhance your enjoyment of Inquisition's story. For Inquisition, finish a regular playthrough and do not skip Trespassers. Now again, if you don't have enough time to complete all 3 games, here's an alternative option. Do a focused playthrough of Origins focusing on the 3 characters I mentioned and their storylines, and then skip all the DLCs except Witch Hunt if Morrigan was romance. Skip Dragon Age 2 entirely or rush through the game doing only the main quests, then hop straight into Inquisition and again do only the main quests until the base game is finished, and then complete Trespassers. That should give you enough information to understand what's going on at the start of Dragon Age Veilguard, and you should be in a position to understand why things are happening and who we are fighting. If this helped you out in any way, hit that like and subscribe button to help your boy out with the algorithm. And also thank you to our Patreon supporters for continuously supporting the channel. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.